Once upon a time, in the small village of Nwanchi, there lived a notorious boy named Amechi. From the moment he could walk, Amechi was known for causing mischief. He never listened to his parents, and no one in the community could control him. As he grew older, his pranks turned into more serious trouble. He began stealing little things from people's homes, especially when they traveled out of the village. It started with small items, clothes hung out to dry, fruits from people's gardens, or tools left lying around. But soon, Amechi became bolder. At night, he would sneak into people's yards and steal their livestock, chickens, goats, and even ducks. No one could explain how Amechi did it. The villagers would wake up to find their animals missing, and though they suspected him, they could never catch him in the act. People in Nwanchi grew wary of leaving their homes, especially when traveling. "If you're gone too long, Amechi will have helped himself to your things," they'd say. When travelers returned, they'd find their homes ransacked, items missing, and Amechi's name whispered on every tongue. But no one could bring proof to the village head, and Amechi's parents always defended him. One night, Chief Olisa, the most respected elder in the village, decided he had had enough. After losing 2 of his finest goats to Amechi's mischief, he visited the chief priest for a solution. He had heard of the priest's powerful charms and strange abilities. Chief Olisa was determined to make Amechi pay for his crimes in a way that would be both unforgettable and humiliating. "Make whoever is stealing my goats pregnant," Chief Olisa said in frustration, "and not just any pregnancy. Let him deliver a goat in 7 days." The chief priest listened, his face expressionless, then nodded. "It can be done," he replied. He pulled out a small pouch filled with white powder. "Sprinkle this around the place where you keep your livestock. Whoever steps on it with the intent to steal will bear the consequence. In 7 days, they will deliver what they stole." Chief Olisa grinned wickedly. This will teach Amechi a lesson he'll never forget. He returned home and, as instructed, spread the white powder around his goat pen that night. Then he shared the plan with the village elders, and together they agreed to keep it a secret. Chief Olisa pretended to travel, telling everyone he was going to visit his brother in a distant land. This, of course, was bait for Amechi, who always took advantage of such news. Word soon spread through the village, reaching Amechi's ears. As expected, Amechi wasted no time. He waited for the night to fall, confident that Chief Olisa's goats were his for the taking. After all, the old man wouldn't be back for days, and the compound appeared unguarded. That night, under the cover of darkness, Amechi crept toward Chief Olisa's compound. His heart raced with excitement as he thought about the goats he was going to steal. He approached the gate quietly, unaware of the white powder surrounding the pen. As soon as his feet stepped into the powdered area, something strange happened. Amechi felt a sudden chill run down his spine, but he shrugged it off and continued. He managed to snatch one of Chief Olisa's prized goats and quickly made his way back home. He congratulated himself for another successful theft, completely unaware of the curse he had just triggered. He prepared a feast with the goat he had just stolen and invited his fellow mischievous friends deep inside the forest to come partake in the spoil. Days passed, and something strange began to happen to Amechi. His stomach started swelling, growing larger with each passing day. At first, he thought it was something he had eaten, but by the 3rd day, the swelling had grown so severe that he could barely move without feeling sharp pains. His once slender frame now looked as if he were carrying something heavy inside him. Panicked, Amechi tried to hide it from his family and the villagers, but by the 5th day, it became impossible to conceal. Word quickly spread through the village that Amechi's belly had swollen to the size of a large pot. The villagers, confused and alarmed, gathered to witness the horror that had befallen him. As Amechi's belly grew larger and more painful, his family, now terrified, called for the village medicine man to come and examine him. The villagers gathered outside Amechi's home, whispering rumors and speculating about what might have caused the boy's bizarre condition. When the medicine man arrived, he took one look at Amechi and knew immediately what had happened. With a solemn expression, he turned to Amechi and said, "You are pregnant, Amechi." Amechi's eyes widened in disbelief. "What nonsense are you talking about?" he shouted. "How can a man be pregnant? Leave my house at once." The medicine man remained calm and explained, "This is no ordinary pregnancy, Amechi. You have been cursed. The spirit of your theft has taken root in your body. If you confess your crime, we may be able to reverse it, but you must speak the truth before it's too late." But Amechi, too proud and stubborn to admit his wrongdoing, waved the medicine man away. "Get out of here. You don't know what you're talking about. This is just a sickness, and I'll be fine soon enough." The medicine man shook his head sadly. "You've been warned," he said quietly before leaving the house. By the 7th day, the situation had grown dire. Amechi's belly was so swollen that he could barely walk, and sharp, agonizing pains shot through his body. It felt as if something inside him was trying to break free. That evening, the pains grew unbearable. Amechi doubled over, screaming in agony. His neighbors heard his cries and rushed to his home, where they found him on the floor, clutching his stomach, writhing in pain. The village gathered outside, murmuring in disbelief at the sight before them. Amechi screamed for help, but no one knew what to do. Suddenly, he felt a strong movement inside his belly, and the pain intensified. Then, in front of the entire village, Amechi let out one final piercing scream, and to everyone's shock, a baby goat emerged from his body. The crowd gasped in horror and disbelief, their eyes wide as they watched the impossible unfold. The once notorious troublemaker, Amechi, had given birth to a baby goat. As the villagers stood frozen, unable to comprehend what they had just witnessed, Chief Olisa and the other elders arrived at the scene, accompanied by the medicine man. Chief Olisa stepped forward, his expression grim but resolute. "I have something to confess," he said, addressing the stunned crowd. "For many months, I have been plagued by the theft of my livestock. 2 of my finest goats were stolen, and I knew that Amechi was behind it, though I had no proof. So I sought the help of the chief priest, who gave me a powder to set a trap for the thief. Whoever stepped into the powder with the intent to steal would be cursed to bear the very thing they had taken." The crowd murmured in shock as Chief Olisa continued, "Amechi fell into that trap. He stole one of my goats, and this is the consequence of his actions." As the truth sank in, the villagers' disbelief turned to anger. Furious voices rose from the crowd, calling for Amechi to be punished. "He has tormented us for too long," shouted one man. "We should make him pay for everything he has stolen," others echoed. The angry mob surged forward, intent on taking justice into their own hands. But the elders quickly stepped in, raising their hands to stop the crowd. "No," Chief Olisa commanded, "let us not become like the boy who caused so much harm. We are a just community, and we will not take his life." The elders nodded in agreement, and the medicine man spoke up. "Amechi has already suffered a fate worse than any punishment you could give. He must live with the shame and disgrace of his actions." Chief Olisa, his voice steady, made the final decision. "Amechi will be banished from this community, never to return. Let this be a lesson to all those who steal from others, for they will eventually pay the price." The crowd, though still angry, respected the decision of the elders. They parted as Amechi, weak and broken, was led out of the village. He walked away, his head hanging low, knowing that he had no one to blame but himself. From that day forward, Amechi was never seen in Nwanchi again. The village returned to its peaceful ways with a renewed sense of justice and order.